As the director, you've been such a big influence on my life, not just as my aunt, but as a mentor. Do you remember the moment you first realized you wanted to work in education and language?
I don't think I've ever really decided that I was going to be in education as such. But all my life, ever since I've been very young, my career was to be an interpreter, translator, which I did for many, many years, and I still do because I'm a workaholic. I take contracts. I think the moment I realized I really wanted to be in education was when I was in secondary 4. And because I found it boring to be in school. The standard way of education, I found it really boring. To me, it was not challenging enough, or I didn't have many opportunities in the North when I was in school because what my teachers gave me were too easy, if I put it that way. So I was bored a lot in the school because before, when I received my books, I read through them. I think that's why I was bored, because I had to wait for my peers to get up par with me before we could advance. So I decided that if ever I have a chance, I'm going to work for education on the curriculum. And today, that's what I do. I'm working with a very good team and a curriculum for Inuit students of Nunavik. And it has been a wonderful ride.
Can you introduce yourself and what you do?
My name is Harriet Keleutak. I'm the Director General of candidly. I'm the liaison between the political party and the employees of candidly.
Where is your office based and how many schools do you have?
Our office is currently in Saint Laurent, in Montreal, and we have another office in Kuujjuaq. We have 18 schools in 14 communities. We have 6 adult ed centers in 6 different places. And we also run a post-secondary education department in Montreal, and also a teacher training department for our teachers that are teaching and at the same time learning, trying to get their teaching diploma.
And how many students do you think do you have in your school board?
This school year we had 3,541, if I'm not mistaken, throughout Nunavik. We have approximately between 300 to 700 adult education students that follow different training or vocational training or upgrading. And we have about 170 students in post-secondary.
Okay. And these are all Inuit beneficiaries from Nunavik?
Yes, they are, all of them.
Okay. As the Director General of Kativik Ilisarnilirinin, you're leading something historic, the only Inuit school board in Canada. What does that responsibility feel like to you?
It's fun. It's fun to be able to lead a team. I have a really good team. We work with mainly two universities for our teacher training department. We work with McGill University. We also work with University Abitibi-Témiscamingue that does teacher training for Puvirnitok and Nunavik, and the rest is with McGill University. But they are all served under Kativik Ilisak Nilrinung. And right now, in the last 3.5 years, we have been revising the curriculum because we found out, I don't know, there was an audit done on our curriculum. We did an audit to see how come Inuit students were not at par with the rest of the province. How come they had to redo a lot when they go to higher education or do a lot of upgrading. To avoid that, we started researching to find out where our students were, something that we already knew because especially in French. In French, our students are 2 years behind compared to a student that's studying in Montreal in high school. And in English, they're usually 1 year or a bit less behind compared to a student in Montreal. And we started revising our curriculum because government did not, after the James Bay Northern Quebec agreement, when Inuit were given the right to teach in Inuktitut, the structure was not put in place. So they were happy. They were very happy to be able to teach in Inuktitut because they're in residential schools, they were not allowed to speak Inuktitut or teach Inuktitut. So when they gained that power to teach in Inuktitut, I don't think Quebec government knew how they were going to handle it. So we've been trying to make sure that progression of learning is in place in Inuktitut, that accreditation is there, and whatever Inuit have developed as a curriculum, that they can be transferred to higher education. The knowledge can be transferred to higher education, which was not done before. So we've been working very hard in the last 3 years. I think we should be able to start our first pilot project, not the next school year, but in 2 years. Because the way we teach right now, we do kindergarten, grade 1, 2, solely in Inuktitut. And then as of grade 3, depending on the parent's decision, a child will go half-time Inuktitut and half-time English, or half-time Inuktitut and half-time French. And then we cut their Inuktitut learning as we go higher. And with that, we have found out that when they're in secondary 3, our students start losing their Inuktitut. And we've been doing a lot of research. We've been working with 3 different universities to understand, and language experts, to make sure that what we want to implement is doable and can be done properly. And we've been also looking at our teaching staff to see how we can make it happen. Because we want to start teaching Inuktitut as a kindergarten and all the way up to secondary 5, and teach second language, not from grade 3, but from grade 1. So their proficiency in English or French would be stronger when they exit high school, and to give them more chances to go into higher education without having to do upgrading when they reach college or CEGEP or vocational training. And Our plans have been approved by our council. Many Inuit did not understand when we first introduced it. They thought that I was cutting Inuktitut. They misunderstood because we want to enhance Inuktitut. And if we don't cut it in grade 3, let it go all the way to secondary 5, they will come out with much stronger Inuktitut and French or English. Because we keep cutting it. It's like redoing kindergarten when you reach grade 3 in a second language.
And is that the pilot project you spoke about? In 2 years, you'll try it, that method?
Yeah, we're planning it because we also have to think of our current students. How do we get them at par? How do we get them to a new transfer to a new system? So there's one team working on the current one and one team working on the one that we will pilot first and then implement it throughout Nunavik. So we have 2 things going at the same time, but it's a lot of work.
A lot of
imagine.
meetings.
Yeah, lots of meetings. Trying to make government understand has been one issue as well.
Yeah, especially when we have a government who's terrified of other languages. Who seems to be terrified of other languages.
Like I've been telling them, Inuktitut is not a threat to French language. We're a minority. We have preserved our language over thousands of years without rules and regulations because that's who we are. We learn other languages like English and French because we want to be able to work with these people, the governments, or anybody outside of our region that don't speak in Inuktitut. And I've been telling them, you should be making efforts within your people, French people.
Absolutely.
And not look at the English or other languages and say, you're making us lose our language. Like all the ridiculous rules and regulations that they've been putting out there. I've been trying to say, give me that money. I'll put it to better use. And they should be working with their children right now because their children are speaking broken English mixed with French or broken French mixed with English. They should be concentrating on themselves instead of concentrating on others. Like Inuit are not a threat to French language. We have kept our language over the millennia, if I put it that way. And with all the evolution that has happened in Nunavik, with all the new people that have come, we still keep, our language is still strong. French should be able to do the same thing.
Same thing, yeah. And we were allowed to want the same thing for our language like you want for your language in our Canada.
Right now, the battle that we have with Quebec government is Bill 14, Law 14, Bill 96. With that law, our English students have absolutely no chance to graduate or to receive their diploma because they are required to, in higher education, in vocational training, they are told to exit in French, but these people have never spoken a word in French. Or
that would be
the students in Nunavik.
Yes,
Yeah.
that
That
are
would be
studying
students.
in
Yeah.
English and Inuktitut.
Yeah.
They don't learn French. So not only if they want to continue their higher education, not only will they leave their home, they will leave the province to go to another province to study in English. And we also have courses, programs in vocational training in Nunavik. such as daycare caregivers, Arctic guides, Nunavik organization management. They are also asked to exit in French. And if the government is going to insist that these people do exit in French, we're losing a lot of students. Inuit rights that were given under James Bay and Northern Quebec Agreement, their inherent right to decide which language they want to learn other than Inuktitut. The government did not think that it would have a big impact. Like I said, they should have concentrated on their own people and not look at other people and say, these people are making our language disappear. Like in Inuktitut, among the Inuit, we have received many non-Inuit in our region. We could have decided, oh, today I'm English or today I'm French. But out of respect, out of who we are, out of our culture, we speak Inuktitut first in Nunavik. They should do the same thing here and the more language you know, the more doors you open. But government doesn't think like that.
It's like this red tape, the French exit is gonna put so much barriers to those who are already struggling that want to become that want to take vocational courses, and they're having a second language. It's already
No, me. That was me.
it's already a challenge for them, but then finding out that you'll also need to learn French,
Or with everything that they're already facing, everything that Inuit are already facing as a people, to get to the finish line is so hard already.
Yeah.
It's so hard to, when you have things going on in home and home is violent and this and that, and it's hard to get to school, it's hard to concentrate, but then to get there and say, no, you did it in the wrong language,
Yeah.
I think it's really important too to consider the historical context of Nunavik pre-James Bay Agreement. And I don't know the exact number of communities who were administered by the province, and then the rest of the communities administered by the federal government. So those administered by Canada were the English-speaking communities, and so the French communities, obviously, more French is spoken in those communities that were historically managed by Quebec. So you would think that Quebec would have insisted we put everyone into French schools as Inuit, but thankfully we were able to choose that. But
now that choice is being taken away.
Yeah, now we're in a position where we've had generations worth of students going into English because historically that's the language that they were colonized under. And now the level of disenfranchisement that's going to happen in a region where so little is already available is going to be a difficult blow, I think.
I was trying to ask one of the government people for our program in the Arctic guide. I told that man, the animals in Nunavik are not French. They don't speak French. Yeah. An Arctic guide is someone, a certified person that has gun permit, that has first aid courses, search and rescue, land and sea knowledge, and that can help tourists when they come, like for example, at a park, like Tursuyur Park or Pingualuit Park. It's somebody who will be guiding tourists and at the same time be the safeguard in case of wild animals come, like polar bears. It's somebody who knows only about the north, that absolutely doesn't need French to do their job, because their job will be done only in Inuktitut. For them to be asked to exit in French, it's kind of unrealistic. And for our daycare workers that take the training, they only speak Inuktitut in the daycares when that's their regulation.
They don't even speak English. I mean, they
wh-
don't need to
why
speak
would
English
they? The
to
children are going into kindergarten in Inuktitut. Why would they need to speak French or English in the daycare?
This is so typical of the government deciding
What's right for us.
Yes.
Like
When they have no idea what the realities are. And when they do come to our region, the ministers who do come to our region, they come for, like, they take a charter and they land in a community, they visit for 30 minutes, and then off they go.
And name the wrong community that they were in.
And then they become experts in everything. That's one thing we've been trying to avoid at our school board. We've been working really hard to get a proper relationship with the government, to make sure that all the needs of our staff, our students are met. And we've been explaining over and over again to the government that standard regulations that they apply in Montreal or Quebec City or Gatineau or wherever does not apply in Nunavik. And we have to keep reminding them as well that Kativik Ilisaknalirin has a particular status as a school board, meaning that they cannot impose whatever they're imposing to southern schools. And like they dismantle all the school boards and their director generals, their assistant director generals now directly answer to the minister. Minister is not my supervisor. And their reality is very, very different from ours.
So let's talk about that. What makes an Inuit-run school board different from southern models of education?
In the south, the director generals I think they have a very easy job because they concentrate mainly on at the school board and their schools and the staff. That's it. At our school board, for a student to succeed, I need a teacher, I need a house, I need furniture, I need transport, I need a school,
I need food,
cargo, and because about 500 of our teachers are non-Inuit.
Who come from all over the world,
yeah.
basically, from Canada. I mean,
we have the hardest time finding French teachers from Quebec. The majority of our French teachers are from Côte d'Ivoire or
Africa,
Algeria. They're not from Quebec. And it's been very hard to recruit. Our neighboring province, Ontario, they have French-speaking people. We've tried recruiting from there or from New Brunswick, but everybody's lacking teachers everywhere in Canada. So it's been really hard trying to get teachers. Our school year will be ending in about 5 weeks. And the job that I have, the responsibility that I have compared to a director general down here is enormous. I have to make sure that absolutely everything is in place. I'm very fortunate. I have a really good team. we have to every year we have to prepare for the ship to sail from out of 2 ports from Montreal, to send school materials, construction materials,
Furniture,
anything that
vehicles,
vehicles, anything that the school needs in order to function. And if we miss the boat, we miss the boat. So we go with air, which is much more expensive than the boat. Depending on the weather and the ice conditions, sometimes we're on time, sometimes we're late. And if we have construction and the boat cannot deliver on time, that also means that the school will not be on time. They will be delayed. The school will be delayed. And the responsibility that other DGs don't have is to ensure that they have an agreement with construction companies, oil companies, airlines, shipping companies,
Land lease.
land leases, and municipal services, which is one of the greatest challenge
I was going to say
that we have. Water delivery, sewage pickup.
Which is a real issue now in Nunavik in some of the communities. Schools will
Especially
close
in
down
a
because
school, it's a
there's
safety issue to not
Yeah.
have running water.
Quebec government made rules to say that if the school does not have running water, when it opens for 50 minutes, if there's no water, I have to send the students back home. But they don't know, in the winter we have lots of snow, and when the roads are not cleared, it takes time. I cannot just keep sending kids
because
home.
they made that rule from Quebec.
Yeah.
They don't.
And then they turn around and say, how come your students are never in school? How come your schools are always closed? We have to follow your regulations. And when you make regulations for us, look at our reality. And even in the fall, in the last few years, there's been a lot of wind, like very strong winds.
the climate change is very evident in Nunavik.
Yeah. And people were questioned, how come your school is closed? It's just windy. Wow. Who sends their kindergarten kids at 40-pound kids at 100 kilometers an hour winds?
Even adults don't venture out in those conditions.
It's like,
And there's no trees or buildings to block the wind when you're considering the Arctic
And
landscape.
would you, from Quebec City, 100-kilometer winds, would you send your kindergarten student?
I don't think so.
No.
Like, there's many challenges that we face. When I sit with other director generals at meetings, because we do that often, I just smile and say, that's your struggle? That's nothing.
That's cute.
Because we negotiate for our budgetary rules. We negotiate for them. We negotiate for infrastructure funding. We negotiate for collective agreements we have 3 categories of unionized employees. We have support professionals and teachers. We have managers that have working conditions, but they're not unionized. But we also need to negotiate their working conditions. And a lot of director generals down here in southern Quebec don't do that. Like,
Not even close.
and the director generals, they don't travel to all places to ensure everything is running properly. I travel quite often because I have 2 assistants. Yini and Lisa are my assistant. We have directors that work with us, and we go to schools to make sure that they're running properly. We also have a council of commissioners. We have executive committee, and every 2 years we have what they call an education council meeting, where all the local education committee meet every 2 years to talk about the curriculum, to talk about the needs of Inuit students and the Inuit staff. My responsibility is not just in my office. I have to go out there all the time. And because I'm a liaison between the communities and the council political parties, I have to make sure that the communication is flowing there as well.
And communicating to somebody that does not understand, no matter how much you explain it, because they've never had that reality.
Yeah.
It's so hard.
Like I was telling the government, if you walk, because we recently got investigated by Quebec government, our financial administration, our HR administration, and material resources administration were investigated. They started because during COVID, because we're always busy, we never really had time to give all the information to the government. But during COVID, things slowed down. So we started registering everything, all our buildings, all our assets. And
then it looked like there was this huge acquisition
yes.
out of nowhere.
Yeah, and then we told them these buildings are very old now because many of our buildings are coming from federal government, federal day schools, or provincial. A lot of our houses are many were 50 plus years old.
In the north. So probably double that if it was here.
And we made demands for stuff that were supposed to be in place that were not in place, like Sanction des Études, which is a department for accreditation of students. We also hired more employees to take care of all of our buildings, and government started questioning. And so when they started investigating, I was so happy. Yeah. I say, finally, they will see. Yeah. They will see what's happening in the north. They will understand. But no, they turned around. I was very disappointed in the response that they did, the reporting that they did. They told us that my council is uneducated, that they don't know what they're doing in their role, that myself, my assistant, and some of my directors that are Inuit, that we are not qualified to do our job because we don't have proper papers. So I told them, if you walked in my shoes, I'm sure you would do a lot of beautiful paperwork, but the rest won't happen. Like the relationship that we need to build with our communities and the other organizations in Nunavik. Because of social problems, we work hard with Department of Youth Protection to make sure that our students that have special needs or that are under foster care, if they have individualized education plans, that they follow them wherever they go. Because if a child who has individualized education plan is from Kangirsuk, we'll put that resources in Kangirsuk. But if that child is taken by DYP and sent to Inuktitut, we don't have that child's resources in Inuktitut.
And if you want to send his resource teacher there, do you have a house for him? Do you have accommodations? Are you set up for it? What if the teacher has children? Do they have room in the daycare for their child? You know?
Do you have a classroom?
Yeah.
like because we have a teaching allocation that's given to us by the government, so much number, student ratio and all. We cannot just keep moving these resources around. So we've been working with Department of Youth Protection to make sure that children, as much as they can, stay in the community. We had an ombudsman report that was done as well for Kativikilisarnilrinuk. When I first started as the Director General 8 years ago already. And the relationship did really not exist with Quebec government. And government were working with the Inuit because the ombudsman said so. Not because they were willing to make the effort to work with the Inuit. So we've been working really hard to establish proper communication up to now. We've managed to get Inuit Ohakvingat, what we call Inuit Ohakvingat, it's Inuit table. Because when I sat with First Nations, I was the only Inuk in there. And
most First Nations in Quebec are francophone.
yeah, and a lot of them live in urban areas. I'm with one community of Cree. We're the only one that's very isolated. We don't have Quebec roads. And their demands were very different from ours. Because for Inuit to, like I said, if I miss the boat, I miss the boat. The others, they just need an 18-wheeler to get there, whatever they need.
Yeah, and we're always placed in the same pot
Umbrella,
as the
under the
other
same, yeah.
indigenous people from the South, who live in the South, who have easier access to materials and
who have cultural ties to each other, community ties to each other, whereas our ties are really more circumpolar. And I often feel like in Nunavik, in Quebec, we're insulated, but in Nunavik, we're even more insulated from the rest of the opportunities that are available in Canada, the consequences for certain actions or crimes often don't reach the North. The expectation of the government is just completely unrealistic, and
our realities as Inuit are completely
so
different. And they always try and put us with the same money envelopes as well, funding envelopes.
When they offer me 200,000, they say, Harriet, smile, you got 200,000. So I tell them, I need 1.2 million, not 200,000. Because
200,000. What is that going to pay? The plane ticket?
for the container worth of supply.
For the idea to get there, but how are we going to get the rest of the stuff?
Like if I want to buy in bulk, all the papers for all the schools, we buy in bulk.
Which is cheaper
Cleaning
to buy in bulk.
supplies,
Yeah.
cleaning supplies for all the schools. 200,000 does not even cover one school. if you
have
consider,
18 schools.
and we have 18
And
schools,
6 adult education.
6 centers, and it's nothing. And that's why I insisted that we get our own tables so that we can talk about issues for the Inuit. So we managed to get Inuit Ohakvingat with the Ministry of Education. And since they did an investigation, they started forming other tables so that they can understand better, example, financing. Because they thought that we were asking money just for the sake of it, just for fun, kind of thing. But we don't ask money for pleasure from the governments. We do it because we need it. And since COVID, there's many decrees that were made by the government that have heightened the price tag of absolutely everything. Before COVID, when we planned to build a school,
The budget was this.
the price tag was 50 million. Today, to
With
finish
inflation?
it,
Yeah.
to make it happen, I don't know how they did it, but that school that will be built starting in 2 years will cost $178 million. It will be the newest, the most sophisticated school in Quebec because
Made of glass and marble.
it's not even made of glass or marble. And we try to find ways to reduce costs as much as we can. But to support our schools, we need to fly to...
And because it's been lacking for so long, you need even more. It's like you need a boost. Yeah.
Big one.
Yeah.
And
So we don't need the regular amount of money. We need a boost because they've been lagging for so long.
they've reduced their budget this year for public organization like us, health sector, like Inuktitut hospitals like us have been asked to reduce the costs, cut down costs. But
When there's no surplus anyways. Like,
Nothing.
how are you supposed to cut down when you're just barely...
You know what? The most incredible thing I've heard basically in the last year is the cost of healthcare in the province, and the government, the CAQ, has created the Click Santé
yeah,
or that health authority.
Yes.
And the first mandate of that institution is to cut $1 billion of funding from healthcare, public healthcare. And
don't
the
even start.
and this is the whole province. So the expectations that they have about our reality are completely unrooted in reality.
yeah, education as well. Harriet Keleutak, on one hand, they're criticizing us. On the other hand, they're not giving us any opportunity. There's no opportunity.
support. No.
If they want Inuit to be successful and to have a big high number in graduation rate, we have no choice to be asking these fundings in order to have a school, a classroom for those students. And I've also been telling them, because right now in secondary 5, I think we have about 270 students throughout Nunavik.
275?
Throughout Nunavik in secondary 5.
Who should be graduating high school?
Yes. And if 250 of them graduate, that's a success. But the way government counts the numbers, they do it by thousands. I don't have thousands. I don't have...
So you're automatically failing. You're
automatically no good in that percentage. But
And with all the other things Inuit are facing, 250 out of the 275 is already so hard to attain.
It's big.
So hard.
Even getting 270 kids to secondary five is a feat.
Yeah.
That wasn't happening when I was in secondary 5.
Yeah. I remember the numbers being really low when I was graduating high school. Like, I was the only only graduate in French in high school.
I was the only
all my
graduate.
peers had dropped out due to different reasons.
So many reasons. And if you want to invest, if you want to stop paying for mental health and all this stuff that you're you're putting you have to give money to the North because of all this trouble that we're having. Invest in the children so that they're growing up healthy.
problems that they caused in the beginning.
Exactly. Like, get to the root of the problem. Give them an education. Give them safe buildings. Give them good teachers. Build their confidence so they're not out there, having babies at 15 years old and getting into substances and committing crimes. I mean, make school fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all the other services available in Inuktitut first, because when children are in crisis, they're not going to speak in English or in French. And
They're going to speak the language of their heart.
And we have that from another guest too, saying that she works with kids who are in care and
in the school
Inuktitut, they
too.
reveal
Yeah.
things to her that they would never to a social worker.
that's why since we had an ombudsman report, we have these tables that we sit on, different tables. One of them is health and social services, trying to make Ministry of Health and Social Services Quebec understand that there are Inuit children that speak only in Inuktitut if they require mental health, counseling, speech therapy, or rehabilitation. It has to be done in Inuktitut. And I've been asking them because those professions require licensing or permits. Can I hire Inuit that speak Inuktitut?
Not unless they exited in French.
And so that children can be cared for properly. And I've been trying to fight their regulation that says it has to be a licensed professional.
Certified, yeah.
But children are not going to speak. Like, if I lost my mother or if I live in a violent home, I'm not going to go to someone who speaks French or in English and say, I miss my mother. Like, when you say it in your own language, it has more meaning because it's your emotions. Even for adult, if I were to go and speak to a counselor and say, I'm hurting, I'm going to be putting Inuktitut words all over the place because in Inuktitut, when I want to talk about my emotions, I don't have to look for words. I know what to say.
And in our culture, sometimes healing is not even saying anything, but being close to somebody who just understands you, and a child is not going to go. I mean, we're still deeply colonized, even our children still look at the white man in awe in 2025 and look at them like they're a creature from another planet. You think this child is going to connect with a creature from another planet with a language that they can hardly speak? I don't think so.
No. So we have to, the services that we provide, we try as much as we can for them to be in Inuktitut first. We're also having a hard time recruiting Inuit. It's been, since COVID, it's been very hard to hire Inuit teachers or counselors or behavior technicians, special education technicians. And our school year is coming to an end and we're still missing 57 teachers.
And imagine your budget. What are you offering these people to take these jobs when they know that somewhere else is going to offer them better? The government needs to step up.
We have really good packages now since we last negotiated.
Thanks to you.
Thanks to the efforts of my team.
What a blessing. I keep thinking, my goodness, we're lucky. We're so lucky to have you in our corner, Harriet.
And because the people that I were negotiating with before, they were interested to understand what Nunavik is. they were interested to find out what's happening. So that negotiation was easy. And it got easier at the end because they understood more of what was happening in Nunavik. But this new government, everything I do, I have to do it in French, but to protest and to make sure that my students are protected, I've only been speaking to them in English lately, even though I speak French.
Yeah, you speak fluent French. You even translate in French.
And if they ask me to go and speak publicly, I'll do it only in Inuktitut, even if I don't have an interpreter, like they do it when they come to the north.
Yeah.
They'll come to the north, speak French to elders, community members who have no clue what they're saying, and leave.
Yeah.
That's what I've been doing.
And say, I told you so. I told you. Yeah.
So that's what I've been doing as well.
Good.
Speak solely in Inuktitut to make them feel what they make Inuit feel. And slowly, by the time I retire, I hope that relationship with the government will be easier, more flowing, easily.
Let's hope so.
Well, with you in there.
You're making great changes, I think.
I'm doing changes because the people that I work with know, because we came from that system.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's we're gonna continue this discussion in part 2.
Yeah.
This is always great. Thank you so much, Harriet. This is the end of part 1. Join us again for part 2 with Harriet Keleutak, the Director General of Kativik Ilisang Nilirinuk, the only Inuit school board in Canada. So to those of you at home, we thank you for your support. If you want to support us further, be sure to head over to our Patreon on patreon.com/northern and join us over on Discord to keep the conversation going. See you later.
Thank you.
What is it?
Say,
What is it?
hey, why it's buttercup. Popcorn and sweet cream butter, too hot popcorn. Mix it up, wrap it up, buttercup is born.
It's delicious.
So nutritious,
It's a taste delight.
It's so munchy,
crisp and crunchy.
you'll enjoy each bite. Eat butter-drenched buttercup popcorn at its best.
Served in a king-size cup.
It beats all the rest.
Welcome back to part 2 of Northern with my aunt and mentor, Harriet Keleutak. Speaking of Keleutak,
Oh, ile. My earrings right now are little Kiliutang warapi. Little white one and black one. They used to each have a matching pair, but I had to start wearing them like that. But I wore them for Harriet.
so your name Keleutak, can you tell us what that means?
Keleutak is a skin scraper. When you clean caribou skin or seal skin, it is used to remove grease.
Amazing. What can education do for Inuit youth that goes beyond reading and writing?
That's one thing we have looked into, because for many years, gifted children or special need children were not, they didn't have any pathway at our school board. That's one of the things that we've been looking at to make sure that we have pathways for those students. We have what we call work training oriented program, work oriented training program, WOTP, for students that are not strong academically but strong with physical work, with hands work. We have partnered with some municipal services, some co-ops, Air Inuit as well, and so that these students can attend school and get skills to be able to finish school and go directly to work. and it's very new. They in the past they called it Individual Plan for Learning (IPL), which was not successful because they didn't have proper partners, and many of especially the boys, they're learning how to help the community. They go hunting. They build cabins for single parents or elders, or shelters on the land that can be used by anybody that requires shelter. And for municipal services, they're learning how to take care of water trucks, sewage trucks, and to work as a mechanic apprentice. And with Air Inuit, it's more cargo handling and to take care of, Nunavik tarmac, how to keep it clean, and how to when the plane lands, how to park it, and with
You mean the marshalling?
yeah, and at stores they're learning how to be how to do stocking of shelves, how to work with customer service, things like that, that we were able to find partners with, because many students in the past were considered dropped out. I don't like that word, because many of our students, especially boys, that leave school at secondary 3, 2, we try to provide them with literacy and numeracy, because they're going to be sitting in some committees in the community, like housing committee, health committee, and they're going to be going hunting, provide for the community. To me, that's not a dropout. A dropout is somebody
Who won't contribute to society.
that's it. But these students, even when they leave school, they contribute to the community. And young girls leave mainly because of pregnancy. And bullying is one of many issues that we're trying to deal with as well, because bullying has to stop. It's not just school that's experiencing bullying, it's sometimes the whole community.
Did you have a question?
Just on bullying, I know that you've been the DG for 8 years, but you've been in education as long as I can remember. And I just want to, I want to have your idea or your impression of how much the nature of bullying has changed in your career, and how it's affected the people who've, gone through the school system already and the people who are currently in the system.
Yeah, bullying has always existed among the Inuit, not only with non-Inuit, with Inuit, within Inuit. I've been in May, I will have been. Next month, I will celebrate 30 years with Kativikili.
Wow. Does that mean you're like close to retirement?
I hope not.
I hope not.
You started
either.
so young.
There's a lot to do. I cannot stop yet. At the school board, I started as a receptionist replacement. And then back then, we needed fax operators. So I became a fax operator. And I was a fax operator for about a year and a half. And then one of the Kativik translators, interpreters, stopped working suddenly during a meeting.
Really?
The director of finance came and said, "Harriet, I need help. Come and interpret." I said, "I've never done that. I know one-on-one interpreting, but simultaneous interpretation."
Okay, because you used to be an interpreter for the court system, and that's consecutive,
Yeah.
right?
I was used to doing consecutive interpreting, but not simultaneous. And that man came. I had no choice. If I said no, he was going to say, "Get out." So I told him while we were going upstairs, I told him, I've never done it. I'm going to slow down your meeting. And he said, no, I know you speak French, English, Inuktitut, and you can speak all of them all at the same time. So just listen and tell me what they're saying at the same time. So I said, I'll try. He gave me a microphone. Everybody had their headphones. It was a council meeting that I never attended, so I was kind of intimidated because they were all older than me, and they were mostly men. And one of them was my uncle in there, and I was like so nervous. How will I speak? How will I make them understand in Inuktitut when I've never been in these kind of meetings?
Yeah, because the terminology, if you're unfamiliar with the terminology, that's an added challenge.
It is. So I started from that day on, I became a translator interpreter. And I was in that position for about 11 years before I became the Secretary General. And while I was the Secretary General 10 years ago, I left school board for a year, or a little bit over a year, because of personal issues. And I swore that I would never go back to school board again.
And then you went to the top.
Then when that position became available, a headhunter called me and said, Harriet, would you be interested in becoming a director general? I told him, let me think about it. Let me talk to some people. And I have to talk to my husband, my family, because it requires a lot of time away from home. And I spoke to your mother. I asked her, what do you think? And she said, you have all the skills to do it, Harriet. Don't question yourself. Just do it.
Yeah.
And I asked my husband, would you mind if I become a director general? It will require for me to stay away from home often. And he said, that's what you do anyway. So I became a director general 8 years ago, but I've been with the school board for 30 years this year.
I used to work for the school board, and I loved working for the school board. It's like one of the best organizations that I've ever worked for. I like the team is great. I've been in different departments, and I always enjoyed it.
It's fun when you have a team that's willing to work with you. We support each other, we build each other. And the work that we have done in language is extensive. We've done a lot of work.
And why is preserving Inuktitut so critical?
Our mandate is not to preserve Inuktitut. Our mandate is to teach academics in Inuktitut so children can learn to read and write properly and speak it properly. But it's very important because if you go to our region, you need to survive in Inuktitut. You cannot survive in English or French. Like if you go out on the land, you cannot, like Auntie was asking, because you said her earrings were made of puko, which is a shell, gun shell. When you're hunting, you don't use English words, and you're not going to go, I'm going 60 kilometers north from Kangersuk, for example. You're going to say, we named the land to where we're going. We don't go by kilometers or numbers. Because we know if I'm going to Hingwa, I know how long I'm going to get there.
And we all know what Hingwak is.
Yes, everybody knows what Hingwa is.
It's the same everywhere in Inuktitut.
Yeah, and when you're on the ice, like seal hunting, or if you're driving on the sea ice, you have to know the words in Inuktitut in order to survive. It's a survival skill. That's why it's very important for Inuit to speak their language properly. Like I said earlier, we have preserved it without rules and regulations because it's part of our survival skill.
Yeah, and like we talked about the political challenges that you face in keeping Inuktitut strong in schools. Now, what do you think the challenge is keeping Inuktitut strong in a home?
The biggest challenge we have right now is the technology, the internet, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Is making our children lose their language very fast because many homes are speaking broken English. Some children come to our schools speaking only broken English. And intercultural marriages, instead of speaking either French properly to their children and Inuktitut properly to their children, they speak broken English to their children together. And we've been trying to encourage parents, if they speak French, to speak to them in French. And if the mother speaks Inuktitut, to speak to them in Inuktitut. Because children, they can easily pick up languages.
They can tell the difference too.
Like when I speak to certain people, I speak French because that's the language I've spoken to them. And even with Inuit elders, I speak English to some of them that understand English. But majority of the time, I speak Inuktitut only. And I try to encourage and promote Inuktitut within family. At homes, it has to be spoken at home. Because Kativik is not going to make you speak Inuktitut. That's many parents expect that Kativik will make you speak Inuktitut because language starts at home.
Yeah, so does everything else, like respect and responsibility. And I used to be the secretary at the school in Huartak before I moved to Montreal, and I was the secretary for 6 years, and eventually I started replacing the center director, and the principal really wished that I would eventually become the school principal, but I really did not see myself as a school principal. But back to my point, there would be students misbehaving, and the parents, there would be parents who would blame the school. Do you have any advice about that?
Like my mother used to say, before you point somebody, you point your finger at somebody else, look at the mirror first. And my mother would say when we were leaving home to go out, behave, you're the reflection of my parenting. And many children show the reflection of what's happening in their home. And some of them, like, before you blame somebody, you have to know, because many children are neglected and do not really have relationship with their parents. Couple of years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, children and youth were in crisis in Nunavik. There was a lot of crisis, violence, suicide happening, but in the last 2 or 3 years, what we're seeing right now in our schools is parents are in crisis. With drugs and alcohol coming to north, especially the hard drugs and excessive alcohol consumption, many children are neglected. So in school where we give them attention, where we give them food, many misbehave because they don't have boundaries from home.
And they're angry.
And they're angry because they don't get proper attention. It doesn't take long to give, even when you were a working parent, give 15, 20 minutes of your time to your child to really listen. And when it's dinner time, sit down with them, remove their gadgets so that you
And
can
remove
have,
your gadgets as a parent.
As a parent, you have to model it and just say, "Hey, what'd you do today? Are you okay?" It's not long, but it keeps the family together, connected. And even if you cannot be with your children, now that we have technology, for me anyway, because I travel, I try to do at least 5-10 minutes FaceTiming with my adult grown children to make sure they're okay. Even if it's not every day because my children are grown. But many children are angry because they are neglected. Some of them live in poverty. They're hungry. So we try to ensure that we serve breakfast in all our schools. We have snack time, and we have lunch programs in some of our schools where they have accommodation, because not all our schools have cafeterias, so that students can learn and properly without being hungry. We work with Breakfast Canada. We work with Inuit Natami, with Makivik Corporation. We got really good funding. We just signed an agreement recently for nutrition for children, so that we can take care of them while they're in school. And there's some spectrums that many Inuit did not understand in the past. We have children with special needs. We have blind students, deaf students. We have autistic students that have special needs. For a long time in Inuktitut, in Inuit, they were not understood because it's the way, for example, a child with autism does many repetitive things. Some of them
Stemming,
cannot socialize, or they cannot be in too noisy place or too bright place. Up to today, many Inuit don't understand, even non-Inuit don't understand what autism is. And many people used to think that these kids were stupid, that they were not understanding. But these children are brilliant even when they're not talking. They're like, their gift is very different from a normal child, if I will compare them. And now that people are starting to understand better, since health services are also governed by Quebec government, a lot of services are done in French. So we keep fighting. We fight for their right to be educated, also their right to have health services.
It's always a fight to survive.
For Inuit, yes. I'm hoping one day we will stop fighting.
And
if I
just
say I am
live.
Inuk, people will say, okay.
You need different services than us here in Quebec.
yeah.
We understand that.
And many government workers that work in the offices making rules and regulations, administrators of governments or blue collar workers or whatever they call them, don't know. Like, we don't have city buses like they do here. So if you're in Kangatsuk, if you live on the other side, trying to get to the school who's on the other side of the community.
In
Where
100-kilometer winds.
where there's risks
Yeah.
of polar bear and
For
wolves
real.
and dogs
And
too,
foxes
and these
and
are
rabies,
and these are our realities.
Even in a normal day, it's a challenge. Like for a child to walk, if the bus is not running, if your parents don't own any vehicle, you're walking. And these kind of realities are not known in the South.
Yeah, like imagine you're a white minister in the government, and you come along and you say there's polar bear warnings regularly in Ivuyivik. That's unreal to Southern ears.
I was one time I got so mad because I was asking for a school bus to be fixed because they sent an electrical bus that doesn't work in the north, and I kept telling them, can I return that bus to your place and you give me one that's not
Your
electric?
old bus.
Yeah.
Give me your old bus.
Can we trade? Can we trade? And while they were debating or trying to argue, one of the children got mauled by the dogs. She survived, but I sent disgusting pictures to the minister and said, this is the reason why I've been trying to convince you to give me a bus.
And get
A mechanical
a
bus.
bus that is suited for Nunavik,
Yeah.
not suited for the city of Quebec, a city in
Like
Quebec.
all the school buses that we sent up north, we have to make sure that they have a block heater, that they have an engine heater,
All the additional costs associated,
Chains on the wheel.
all the additional costs.
in addition to the lack of subsidies you get for buying a fuel bus and not an electric bus. And
A mechanic.
Yeah.
Because that's a whole another issue.
Yeah,
the
it's a whole
mechanic,
another
it's-
issue. All the services is an issue. But to get back to our language, as a school board, we've been trying to make sure that we're part of the preservation, even though it's not our mandate, because many Inuit are not using Inuktitut properly. Because our language is very precise, very, very precise. There's a difference between ra and ga, and the diacritics, what we call the diacritics, are the endings, consonant, voyelle, vowels and consonants. In Inuktitut makes a big difference when you speak. Beatrice Mick ay pahaksunga with Beatrice. Beatrice Mit Pititaulo Yuvunga, I got it from Beatrice. That just ending mit, mik, nit, nick makes a big difference. And if you say improperly, like uksuk, usuk, utsuk, they sound the same.
my personal favorite.
So nako,
Migiak to see you hangat tayok and migiak to see you hangat tayok. And the difference.
So ni mamak to because in Inuktitut, our language is so precise. We have to preserve it the way it's said. Like I'm still learning language because it's very complicated. When it's cloudy, like if it's blue sky in the morning, when the cloud comes, I'm always saying nuvutsito or nuvutsito.
Nuvutjito.
Because that's how precise our language is. Like Janice said, miriakto, vomiting, migiakto, landing.
And Migiak Tutuk is eating vomit, whereas Migiak Tutuk is coming in for the land.
And we have to make sure that children speak it properly. Because ra and ga makes a big, big difference. Itira, itigaka. Itiraka, lakayang ito, itira na takmingin ma. So we cannot be talking like that. And we have to make sure that they know how to use the endings. Like, you cannot say ana nainut. Nainut is not an Inuktitut word. Ana nanut. So what the a lot of kids are using I word right now.
And that, but like in almost the same sentence, you would say anane, you know, but it's so close, but you have to take the right direction.
Right now, kids are saying, Yansi una imirutit. Aipa kapiga.
Saying it twice.
I, like, I, like, ani, hanu lisa what's me, uvanga, ani si yunga, me, I'm going out. Like, me, and
Okay.
I,
Instead
like,
of just
It's
saying
redundant.
ani si
Yeah.
yunga. Inuktitut words are very precise. You cannot use uvanga and then say, I am again.
Use the
And the
same
action I'm
pronoun
doing.
twice.
Yeah.
So, this is like a question for interpreters, but just also in general, what skills make a great interpreter, and what, I guess, similar? How can we improve our Inuktitut?
To be an interpreter, you have to know a lot of words. You have to be able to improvise fast. When it's simultaneous interpreting, but consecutive interpreting, you actually have time to try and understand what people are saying.
Can you explain the difference between the two types?
Simultaneous interpreting is you're talking at the same time as a person
Okay,
who's
and
talking.
it's delivered through microphones.
Yeah,
and
like for
headphones.
example, let's do an example.
Oh,
I'll do it because I'm a simultaneous interpreter, and Harriet is my mentor. So we'll give you an example. What are we gonna start with tomorrow? I'm gonna want to cook something that I enjoy, so I prepared and thought some meat that I'll prepare tomorrow.
Okay, let's try. Just kidding.
When you do consecutive, you actually have time to take notes.
yeah.
Or it's like paragraph by paragraph instead.
That's how you do consecutive interpreting. But to be an interpreter, you have to know many, many words. And if you're going to be you can be specialized interpreter, like legal interpreter, education,
Medical.
Because you've
medical,
learned the terms.
yes.
Okay.
But if you want to do general, like I used to do anyway, makivik, ilagisak, kativik, I would go land holding everywhere to be an interpreter. So I had to learn their terminology beforehand and read through their materials just to make sure that I will interpret properly. But the most complicated one was during Inuit Circumpolar Conference. They have many words that we don't hear daily that they were using.
And it's like about climate.
Climate,
and,
science.
Geopolitical.
And and geography and
Right
animals.
now, like everybody has been talking about clean energy. How do you explain
Yes,
clean energy
yeah.
to an elder?
Yeah.
Is it just
Isirluleong ito may ikumalong la
But
so because energy is ikuma. That I mean, in interpreting terms,
Oh, okay.
ikumaliuti.
Oh, to
the
like-
thing to light
to turn on.
Yes.
to turn, yeah.
Okay.
Because yeah,
But when you're talking about biology, like biomedical,
Oh, these are
like
so hard.
diversity, but like
The terminology that
Biomechanical,
didn't
yeah.
exist in our lexicon.
no, it doesn't exist. Like
At least
So we
not
have to define
specifically or
them.
not in context, right?
that's why many English words, even if they're short, they become really long in Inuktitut.
Yeah.
Like Hanluna, they love using acronyms.
Acronyms.
We don't have acronyms in
Yeah.
Inuktitut. So if,
like that
if
two birds, one stone
Those
reference,
sayings too also are.
There's also a lot of adjectives that English
or
uses many
literal.
words that are connected with specific little connecting words that
Yeah.
Inuktitut, you can say one thing and the meaning is exactly the same as using 7 or 8 English words.
that's why I also tell teachers, don't discipline children in English or French. It's too long.
Yeah, too much.
I have a question. More back to education, but in Quebec, I've heard, I wouldn't be able to pull up the source in this instant, but the French school board has one of the lowest graduation rates in the country.
Really?
And we're in a similar situation in Nunavik too, that some of our graduation rates are really, really low for some schools. And I'm just wondering the outcomes for Inuit who don't finish school compared to the outcomes for, you know, the general population, French students or the Anglophone school board in the South who don't graduate from high school. Do you have an idea of the outcomes for these kind of
Or
students?
the ratio?
Or yeah.
Not on top of my head. I'm sure I have it somewhere, but I cannot answer that question right now. Because the comparisons were done last year, if I'm correct.
Well, like you said that if you have 275 students and you're already failing because your number is not in the thousands, how does one determine, you know? You're not even on the same determining scale.
That's why we've been trying to make Quebec government understand when they put out portraits of schools or school boards every year. We've been telling them, because when they do our portraits, our graduation rate will be 0.5%.
Yeah.
But in my portrait, I'm at 89%.
Which is historically amazing for Nunavik.
Yeah, because education was not in our society
Not
until
formal
recently.
education in
yeah,
the way
formal
that we're doing it
education.
now, yeah.
In an institutional system. Yeah.
I was in Kutjak recently during Easter activities. One of the boys, I think he was 8, he had a gun. And one Hadluna said, how come he's carrying a gun? Can he handle it? And he went off with his skidoo and came back with ptarmigans. So I told her, I said, yeah, he can handle it. He got some ptarmigans. Does he know safety? Yes, he knows safety.
In Inuktitut.
In Inuktitut, his father taught him.
Taught him by showing.
And
Not through an exam.
Textbook.
that's why
And not waiting for the legal age to take that course.
because in our education as Inuit starts, I think, as soon as we open our eyes.
Yeah, it does. It does. Like that's like in our society.
It's embedded in our way of life, the teaching generation.
And the
skills.
need to absorb information immediately, because you always need to be on the lookout for something, or to be helping an elder, or to be looking for food, or you know,
like my
or sewing, or
there's this thing that we're always having to explain to governments and whatever organizations that are trying to service us, is that we're not in the South, we're not institutionalized like you are, and we don't have access to all these services that you have in the South. Therefore, we must use what we have on hand, the knowledge that we have, and they're not always recognized through institutions. Like, we don't have degrees, we don't have psychological licenses and all this stuff, but we can help.
Yeah, that's what I've been trying to make government understand as well. We're not stupid people. We just speak another language. We just have another culture.
Yeah.
We might look uneducated because we don't have the proper papers that Kalaunak have. But in Inuktitut,
If the roles were reversed,
yeah.
how educated would you feel if you were out on the land by yourself?
Hayang.
Yeah. How
Like,
educated?
yeah, I mean,
what degree is going to help you
yeah,
there?
so that the constant challenge is, like, for you, I imagine, is preserving our culture and then having a foot in education.
Since our school were created very colonized, we have boys' cultures and girls' culture, which we are trying to change as well. Because when Inuit go hunting, boys are not there, girls are not there. They're together. They work together.
Yeah.
You cannot be sending only women hunting for caribou. They have to go with men.
With strength.
Strength
Yeah.
and knowledge. So, and the way culture classes were set up for girls, it was sewing, cooking. So I used to be very bored. My aunt was my teacher. I told her, I say, I don't sew. I don't like sewing. And I don't mind cooking, but I don't, like, when I had those classes, I play CBC radio that was talking in French or in English, and I would tell her what's happening in the world. I was interpreting
Simultaneously.
telling my class what was happening outside of Nunavik.
Yeah, because
because I was young, I didn't know what I was talking about, but I just said what was
The
being
words
said.
meant, yeah.
And for some of us were sent away for school at a young age. When I was 12, I was sent away to live with a stranger for a whole year. And I got to her place in the beginning of August, and she spoke French. I understood French, but I didn't speak it at home all the time. And that was my challenge number one. Challenge number two was my food. Because she didn't have the kind of food that I was used to. So my learning, I was not interested to learn at the age of 12 because it was just, how do I survive here?
Yeah.
And because when we're young, it's easy to adapt. I adapted very well.
But adapt that far.
Very well, but I lost my language.
Yeah.
I lost Inuktitut because I didn't speak it for a whole year. I had nobody to speak French with.
At that critical time that now you're realizing you need it until secondary 3.
So when I went back home that summer, after 1 year, I went back home. I spoke only French. And I was trying to communicate with my mother because I was not used
who's unilingual.
I was not used to speaking Inuktitut anymore. Nobody spoke to me for a whole year in Inuktitut. So I was lost, and I started speaking French to my mother. And she scolded me, saying, I'm not French. Stop talking to me in French. I really wanted to fight back and tell her, you're the one who sent me away. But at the same time, I had to respect my mother. So I found a way to communicate with her. There was a nurse that lived in our community that spoke French and Inuktitut. I went to tell her, because my mother knew her. I went to tell her, can you tell my mother that I need time to relearn Inuktitut? Because she gets angry because I only speak French. So my mother had to change her way of talking to me to make sure that I speak it again. But it did not take long for me to speak Inuktitut again. Having that experience, I try to understand where kids are when they're learning, because it's not impossible to learn. You just need proper people to teach you. And I was asked why I encourage or insist that Inuit people speak Inuktitut among themselves. Like I told Beatrice, I'm not used to speaking in English to Inuit, but I'll do it. I try to encourage everybody to speak Inuktitut among themselves because it's preservation of our language. With my girls, I taught, they know Inuktitut, and I told them, Inuktitut hatarati, speak Inuktitut. And since they have different level of education, my eldest came down with me to when I moved to Montreal. She spoke only in Inuktitut, and she had to learn English. And she started in class, what they call classe d'accueil, where she had to learn French first before she can be in a stream.
Class d'accueil, like a welcoming class.
Yeah,
I guess it would be designed for like newcomers and
Immigrants,
immigrants. Yeah.
And then her sister, the younger one, started in French second language. And then the third one started in French, regular French language.
Kindergarten.
Kindergarten to secondary 5. And the way their knowledge of language, because of the way they've been taught French, their Inuktitut
Level is like this. Okay, like
it's
this.
not balanced.
Or like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alexa lost her language for a while before I insisted. Kayla as well. Kayla has been in Huaktak as a teacher for the last 4 years, 5. And since she's in an Inuit community, she's fluent in Inuktitut compared to her sisters. Alakuan understands very well. She writes in syllabics.
She reads and writes in syllabics.
Yeah, but
Which many people do not.
but she will not speak it because people mocked her accent. So I told her, you have 2 nieces now. If you speak to them in English or French, that's the end of your Inuktitut language. It cannot go further if you don't speak to them in Inuktitut. And I try to encourage my daughters to speak to their children in Inuktitut so that it doesn't stop with them. That it continues. It is very important for parents and educators or anybody servicing Inuit in public places or different organizations to do it in Inuktitut. And as educators, we had to rethink of ways we teach numeracy. Because in Inuktitut, when you count, you to go ataw si makupinga sa sitamat all the way up. And
Inuktitut doesn't traditionally have a number system.
That's it. That's why, in order for our students to succeed in math and science, we want to introduce it earlier, because in Inuktitut, you at the co-op, you don't go. Avate hulillu sitamallo hulillu daalaning to avati sansinillu akiliga haravit. Laseung tuku. We go by numbers, like English numbers, because numeracy was never part of our
Never
culture.
necessary. Yeah.
And like when women sew, like if they make an amountie, they use their finger, like
Their natural mathematical abilities.
knuckles or
We're good at eyeballing, but not good with
Expert
measuring
pattern
tapes.
makers. Yeah.
that's why all the camps, the name of the camps are important. And even today, every community try to ensure that young hunters know where they're going, the name of the place they're going to, because many of them are just using GPS again, technology. But in winter, when it's minus 57, if your GPS is frozen, you have to know where you
And
are.
if you want the expert to help look for you, he's probably 50, 60 years old. He doesn't know a GPS, but he knows in Inuktitut where you
yeah.
are. Yeah.
So, but in order for Inuit students to succeed in math and science, we have agreed with the council, our council, to remove teaching math in Inuktitut in higher grades, because in Inuktitut ataw si haningoti ay pangan haningoti mila toro bio hatsiulaka tu makko kisiani atawsik naaqtilugu atawsik mo hatsiruqa atawsiruqtu naaqtilituarami atawsi ilangisugu atawsirmi hatsiruqa atawsiruqtu Inuktitut math is not proper academically.
Like there's no way to superimpose the concept of mathematics into Inuktitut language, is what you're saying.
That's why many students, Inuit students, have a hard time with math when it's in Inuktitut until they learn the formula in English or French.
Yeah. Yeah, formulas that we're not going to use anyway in Inuktitut.
I think what is important about math is not that we're actually going to use the math we learn in school, but that it's building pathways in the brain
Yes.
that are
Problem-solving skills.
yeah,
Which are also gained by being out on the land.
and mathematically estimating, like
Yeah.
the kind of pattern making.
Yeah.
All of that is building the same neurological pathways. It's just
Yes.
not whatever theorems.
Inuit have done that. Development of the brain of children have been done in different ways because of our language, not basically using numbers or science to do it. Like when we're young, we Inuit go by season. Right now it's goose season, and Inuit are preparing for goose hunting and fishing season right now. Since we go by season, Inuit are absolutely ready for every season. They don't need to plan it, they're ready for it. Like they do down here in Montreal. We know the seasons, they're different from the north. And we know what kind of clothes to wear and when to wear it. It's the same thing in the north, but it's a different concept. When we were young, in August, September, it's berry picking time. Our parents knew when they were ripe, when to go get them, how to get them.
Even in the spring, to know whether there will be berries or not.
Even they also pick berries in the middle of winter for medicine purposes, because they're at their best nutrients.
Sweetest,
I think,
ripest.
Yeah,
the red
that's when
berries.
they pick some berries and some
Labrador tea,
yeah, like tea stuff,
medicinal.
Herbs,
medicinal branches
plants.
as well. Because every season has everything for what Inuit need. And in summer, when there's lots of mosquitoes, annoying mosquitoes, that's when you dry meat,
yeah.
dry fish.
Your game.
You get ready for winter. You get your misirak, your dry meat and seal skins, so that you can make proper clothing for winter. And the way we have been raised is varies from one generation to the other, with all the changes that we have seen. I was telling my children about a story when I grew up. I told them my first house ever had no room. We only had a
No
little
bedroom?
wall to hide the toilet. The rest was open, where you could see the beds, the living room. We didn't have running water. We had electricity, but we didn't have running water. And then I told them, and then we moved to a house, much bigger one, with electricity, with rooms, but still no running water. We had big water tanks in Mahautik. And then I told them, finally, in 1985, we got a house that had a running water and electricity at the same time
In Huatak or in Kangis?
in Kangso. And one of my girls was like, "You were poor, eh?" I said, "I've never been poor. I've always had food. I've always had clothes. I was loved. I always had friends. I never lacked anything. I've never been poor, but because of the generational gaps that we have, she thought,
Expectation of quality of life.
yeah, they thought she thought I was poor, but back then, since we were not, since we didn't have access to television, all the gadgets that everybody
You
has
didn't
today.
miss it.
No.
No, it must. The quality of life and the relationships were much stronger and richer than it is
Despite the
today,
hardships.
unfortunately. This has been really fascinating, and we could talk for hours, but unfortunately, we've come to the end of our time here on Northern. Part 2 with Harriet. Thank you so much for coming to sit with us and talk with us and teach us about Kativik Ilisang Naliganik and language and family and everything else. It was very enriching.
I want to say quickly, I have such a deeper respect for KI now. You know, a lot of things you hear are dissatisfaction. And to really understand now the amount that you have on your plate and that you're juggling for us to be, for our children to be better, I have a huge new respect.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It has to get done. Somebody has to do it.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Yeah, please come back.
Everyone at home, thank you for your support. If you wish to support us further, be sure to head over to our Patreon on patreon.com/northern and join us over on Discord to keep the conversation going. Until next time, take care.
Yay.